Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at a sample answer for question 3 on the AQA GCSE English and English language exam, which they ask you to analyse language on. Okay, so the question itself normally is worded in this kind of way. So they normally say, how does the writer use language features in the source that you've been given? They might use the phrase linguistic devices. That means exactly the same. All it means is you're looking for language, read my rules techniques, and you're picking those techniques out. Okay, so in order to get the top band on this, which is worth 9 to 12 marks, you've got to show the examiner that you clearly understand that the writer has used language techniques in the source that you've been given. So you need to be able to pick out those read my rules techniques. You also need to think about why the writer has used those techniques, the purpose of those, and the effect on the reader. You need to support your answers with relevant quotations. You're going to need to write about 4 to 5 PQE paragraphs for this in order to get the top band. So what I would do is, when you get your sources, obviously I've said in my previous lessons, read through the questions first, see what they're asking you, then have a look at the sources. Now source 3 is the one that you are going to be analysing for question 3 on the exam. So as you read through source 3, highlight the read my rules techniques as you go, and also think about why the writer has used that technique at that particular point in the text. And how do those words make you feel as the reader? And you might want to jot down 1 or 2 simple words by the side of your highlighted text, just so you've got your point, evidence and explain ready for when you come to write your answer. And the way you're going to structure your answer is you're going to be writing 4 to 5 PQE paragraphs, and each paragraph is going to be structured in this way. So your point is going to answer the question, what language features does the writer use? So you can start your answer with, the writer uses the technique of, and then you can just put the technique in, such as anecdotal experience, and then say what they're doing it for. So the writer uses the technique of anecdotal experience to explain to the reader that Sam is 5 years old and doesn't have any food. Okay, so it's just a simple 1-sentence introduction to your paragraph. Then you need to put in your relevant quote in quotation marks. Then you need to say what that quote suggests. So look at the specific words in the quote that you've chosen and think about what those words suggest to the reader. Why would the writer have used those words? Okay, and then this then links to your final part of your paragraph. What is the effect on the reader? So how are those particular words going to make the reader feel? Okay, the writers put these words in for a reason. They want you to feel a certain way, so you've got to think about what it is they want you to feel. Okay, and then you would write 4 to 5 PQE paragraphs. 5 is fabulous, 4 is okay, and then this is what your answer would look like on the screen. Okay, so we're going to have a look at the sample answer, and you're going to decide which band you would give this answer that is on the screen. This answer is available on my website, aceyourexams.wordpress.com, if you want to download it and look at it in further detail, and the ALDI letter which we've analysed for this answer is also available on the website. Okay, so we start with firstly, which is a really good way to start your answer. It shows the examiner that you've structured your answer into separate paragraphs. Firstly, the writer uses the technique of anecdotal experience to offer reassurance to the reader that the content of the letter is believable. That's your point. You've told the examiner that the writer has used anecdotal experience as a language feature, and you've explained how they use it. They make it clear that they are a long-standing customer and have shopped at Aldi for the past 2 years. So they've put the quote in as well, and that's a more sophisticated way of putting a quote in to back up what you're saying, because it's an embedded quote. It forms part of the sentence that you're writing. As such, they should be valued. Okay, so that is the purpose. That's why the writer has used that technique. The effect on the reader would be to make them feel guilty that they had let down a repeat customer and that they should be compensated in order to regain their trust and confidence. So that's the effect on the reader. So you've got 4 clear sections within that one paragraph explaining what technique the writer uses, thinking about what they're actually telling you, the purpose of that technique, and then the effect that that technique has on the reader. Just 4 separate parts. Then the writer goes on to say, secondly, which is a really good way of linking your next paragraph, the writer uses the technique of a rhetorical question to ask the reader how they can help. They pose the question, how can you prevent a reoccurrence? Therefore, addressing the reader directly. The purpose of this is to actively engage the reader in the letter. It makes the reader question whether they should do something to resolve the situation because the question is directed at them personally. Another technique used by the writer is that of alliteration, when the writer states that Aldi are a respected and reputable retailer. Using sound effects like alliteration ensures that the words used stick in the reader's head. Here, the writer is emphasising how much they believe in the company, in an attempt to get the reader to offer compensation, as this is what any reputable company would do. So you can see the writer of this is clearly picking out each language technique in a separate paragraph, using the relevant quote and then explaining the purpose and effect of those language features. Furthermore, the writer also uses the technique of rule of 3 to reinforce the message that they feel positive about Aldi and its products. The writer states that they have always been satisfied with the quality, value and variety of Aldi's products, making it clear that they normally feel positive about their shopping experience. The supermarket would be more likely to compensate the writer if they thought they would continue to shop there. So there we've got 4 paragraphs of clear PQE, and then we've got this final one, the 5th one, the one that just takes your answer to another level, and they've started it with finally. So again, really clear indication to the examiner that you've structured your answer. Finally, the writer uses the technique of address the reader when they say, you will seek to resolve this issue. Addressing the reader directly ensures that the reader stays actively engaged as they feel the text is directly relevant to them. The reader would feel an urge to do something to help because the writer specifically tells the reader that they need to resolve the problem. Okay, so we've got 5 clear PQE paragraphs with the techniques picked out, relevant quotes and purpose and effect on the reader. So have a think, would you give that a top band 3 answer? Okay, so this answer would actually get top band 3 marks. It's clear P paragraphs, it has 5 P paragraphs and it discusses the purpose and effect of each technique. It's not a difficult thing to do, you just need to learn Read My Rules, and there is another lesson on my YouTube channel to go through this Aldi letter and it picks out the techniques within the letter. You need to learn Read My Rules techniques, you need to make a clear point, a relevant quote, and you need to think about what's the purpose of that particular quote and what's the effect of those words on the reader. It's not difficult, you just need to learn the structure of the answer. Okay, so if you've liked this lesson, there'll be more lessons uploaded to my YouTube channel, Miss W, every week or so. Have a look at my website, aceyourexams.wordpress.com for free downloads, and if you have any questions, I've got a Twitter channel as well, and you can follow me at Miss W, at Ace Your Exams on Twitter too.